picture on the wall, and now I know how to steer. I'm not afraid if I should fall, yeah. It took some tears, oh, but together we were strong, and now I feel a burning beat inside my heart.
Hi guys, so this video is more about where I've been in terms of other projects that have kind of limited my availability on YouTube, which now will be improved and back to normal. I have been just re-editing the first book in terms of An Ocean of Secrets, not re-editing as such, but being in contact with the publishers in relation more to the sequel and making sure everything kind of lines up with that, and then they kind of approve the chapters and things like that. So I've been doing that. Also, I've been really interested this year, and between the summer, last year, sorry, because it's 2020. Today is Friday, is it the 3rd? Yeah, the 3rd, so I'm still getting used to 2020. So I think I've showed you these before. So I've been really interested in autobiographies, and this is Melanie Brown, and this is brutally honest, and I have to say it's fascinating. You never would have realised that this is actually, because she comes across, and she is a strong woman, but you know, her life and, you know, some relationships that she suffered, abuse and things like that, and the children and what they went through and how close they are now. It's a really, really interesting book, so I'd highly recommend that. I also read Noel Fitzpatrick's For the Love of Animals as well, and that was really interesting too, in terms of where he grew up and kind of the family situation he grew up in and what kind of led him to do what he does as well. So basically, I have had a new book idea that's now been completed and sent, and illustrators are working on it at the minute, and it is a book about a boy with autism, about his name is Tommy, and it all will come out when the publisher and illustrators come back as well. So it'll all be kind of one, and I can kind of give you more information, and you can kind of show it, and I can show it and you can see it and things like that. But in relation to the book here, An Ocean of Secrets, the link will be down below for Amazon where you can purchase it. And basically I had touched on the subject in my previous video about what I got for Christmas and things like that, in terms of writing journals. But basically this book and this theme, I would encourage teenagers and up, of any sex, boy or girl, man or woman. Basically it is about assault and how assault affects women, young women, at a really important stage in their life, when they're kind of in university and they're just before that kind of career side and just becoming a woman and things like that, and what it can do to their confidence, but what it can also do if they are successful in prosecuting, things like that, and if they aren't successful, what it can do. And these two women who have two completely opposite results, and how they actually come together by accident and what happens from there. So yes, it was heavily researched, guys, heavily researched. I did 6 months in a rape crisis centre, which was very, very informative. I got to speak to women like this, and I got to understand from their point of view. So for me, it just became a really strong issue. And the funny thing is, the book didn't come all at once. I began to kind of write chapters, and it all linked together very quickly. So it was written within a year, and it's called An Ocean of Secrets because they come from different sides of the pond. Basically, one is from Ireland, one is from England. Basically the kind of, in a short kind of summary, how it begins is this girl, Sophia, who actually applies for university in the UK because she wants to do a music degree, and she gets into that, and that's how she enters the university. And the woman she actually meets has been a former student of that university, and eventually through investigations they meet up together, and it goes from there. So it is interesting, and if you were interested in that, or you've been affected by anything like that, there is links below in the book as well, and I can link them below here. But for me, it was a very passionate subject, and I, particularly after the experience I had with the crisis centre, and a lot of documentaries I'd kind of looked at from the UK, and I think Dispatches had done a UK, I can't remember the university in particular. They had 2 universities where women and students came forward and how they felt about how things were dealt with, things like that as well. So it does deal with, as well as universities' reactions, and goes into a little bit of, not politics, but interesting ways of dealing with it, and how the reactions from how the university deal with it, and reactions of parents and, you know, authorities and things like that. So if you are interested in anything like that, it is called An Ocean of Secrets. The book is down below, and the sequel will be out in March. the 31st. So yes, that's just in terms of the Ocean of Secrets sequel, which had been kind of, the majority of the sequel was done. So then I had started the it's been a passion of mine to write, which is the children's book, and it is really more geared towards children. There's so many really helpful autism and Asperger's syndrome books for parents and support, but for me, because I'd seen it from the child's point of view for the last 8 years, it was so important for me to write this book from the child's point of view. So really interesting, guys. If you know somebody, or you yourself, or a child or a niece, nephew has autism or Asperger's syndrome, and you see these kind of displays every day of how they interact, or they try to interact and cope with the day and the world, it's a really good book to kind of show them, or just if you've general interest as well. So that is with the illustrator at the minute. It's not formally published, it's all kind of been put forward, and in the next couple of months it will be, probably similar time to the Ocean of Secrets sequel, will be released as well. So yes, if you are interested, guys, in writing and you don't know where to start or begin, what I would highly recommend is the Writers and Authors Yearbook. It comes out every year, and this is 2019. The 2020 is out already, but the 2019, all the details are extremely relevant. So if I just open it for you, because I thought there are some people out there that maybe you write poetry, maybe you've written for a long time, you've done journals, but actually you want to branch out, even a short story. You want to start kind of really focusing on what your strength, and if you want to actually go for things like this. So it is an essential book, I think. You always get, and each year, a note from the editor, and really helpful practical advice, things like that. So basically, if you're wondering why is it different every year, what's different about each book is there's a different author who gives advice on the very first page. So I think 2016 J.K. Rowling wrote because it's an introductory to kind of to let you know that authors weren't always as popular as they are now. So for example, J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter got turned down 10 times before she got published, 10 times. So I mean, that's amazing if you think of that. So it says this edition of the yearbook is dedicated to the memory of a best-selling novelist, Penny Vincancy. She had written the modern blockbuster glamour. So I mean, it does go through every range of books. So fiction, things like that. There is also, if you're starting from a extreme beginner's point of view, they give short story competitions. They give you £1,000. Winners gets £1,000, and the winner's story will be published on the Writers and Artists Yearbook website. So it gives you all the additional information to apply for that. And this is a really useful section. So it goes from the contents. So you may not have the plans that I have. You may not want to do a book. You may want to do theatre. You may want to do drama. So basically the contents and index. So obviously you can't see this, so I will read it out, guys. So the highlighted parts, there's newspaper and magazine advice, listings of newspapers in Ireland and UK, where you might want to do maybe a part in a newspaper, or you want to get maybe an editor's job, things like that. The publishing process, so it goes through what you need to do to get published, how to copyright your book, which is extremely important, guys. If you have come up with a book and somehow it's online or it's on the internet, and you're, through no fault of your own, you're trying to get it out there, it's so important to copyright that story, so it's protected basically. Listings for book publishers in the UK and Ireland, inspiring writers. So they do have Managing a Successful Writing Career by Tony Bradman, Stronger Together Writers United by Maggie G. So things like that. They give you really informative writing advice as well on this top. So short stories, how-to of writing, Finding My Agent, which is really useful, guys. Then it becomes poetry. So you may not want to write a novel, you may be really interested in poetry. So poetry, Becoming a Published Poet by Julia Copas. Notes from passionate previous poets who were beginners and needed to start out on their own. Television, film and radio. So really, guys, this book is so important if you want to be director, producer, radio in particular. A lot of subjects are brought up on the radio every day, news broadcasts, things like that. So that is Scripts for On-Screen Radio and Stage by Paul Ashton. Then we have theatre, like I spoke about. So you have theatre bringing new life to classic plays, Listings, they're theatre producers, literary agents. So a literary agent will represent you, whether you're a fiction writer, autobiography writer, poetry, television. You need that agent to kind of represent you. So that is really useful. Then we have art and illustration. So if you don't want to write, you really paint art and illustration, similar to how I'm basically, an example would be, I finished my book for Autism Awareness for the little boy. I don't illustrate, so what I've done is submitted it to a illustrator. So that's the process there, and they do the art for that. So then you've got listings again for them. Then you have societies, prizes and festivals. So there are yearly, monthly and summer festivals that go on dedicated to these type of subjects. And you meet people, guys, those contacts will never be forgotten. Things like that are really good. So you're developing your own career. Listings again for those societies, prizes and awards. There's festival conferences and meetings for writers and artists. Self-publishing, which is something you want, maybe you want to do that to test the waters. I did that before it was published professionally with An Ocean of Secrets, and that's what the link below is. And I self-published it on Amazon. I went we had a contract, myself and Amazon, and they really did a lot of work and helped me a lot, and that really was supportive, and it gave me the confidence then to go on and submit it to a publisher. The listings for self-publishing there, it isn't just Amazon. I'm sure there's a lot of, I think Austin Macaulay is another one from Ireland. There's a lot of self-publishing businesses out there. So resources for writers, so editing your work, indexing, software for writers if you're using a laptop, which I am, listings, libraries, writers retreats and creative writing courses. Now that's been a passion of mine, guys, to go to a writer's retreat, and I will look at that. That's 481, so that's something that I want to look at. Page 481, law and copyright, and again, this is something I touched on a moment ago. Copyright questions, sorry guys, copyright licensing agencies and authors licensing and collecting societies. So really get yourself integrated into that area, guys, because if you write something, you have a really strong feeling about it, you want to get it out there, copyright it. Absolutely copyright it, guys. Finance for writers and artists, so frequently asked questions. Income tax. So what happens if your book is very popular, guys? What do you do? What do you do in terms of income tax? What do you pay? All of that information is right here. And then it goes to the next page for contents. We have a look there. That is the contents there. So then it has all the different authors, and they've read this already. So before this comes out, authors read this, go through the whole glossary, give their opinion. So this is from Faye Weldon, and she said, this book is magical. It contains all the other information that I need. It's like a writer's entrance ticket to the world. Then Martina Cole, who's another really good author, so much for the budding writer. Rachel Joyce, read this book very carefully and treasure it. Donal Ryan said, buy a copy of the current Writers and Artists Yearbook, get yourself out there. Full of useful information, and that's J.K. Rowling who said that. Everything you need to know about the business of being a writer, from Lawrence Norfolk. When you're looking to get published, it's your Bible, and that's from the Association of Illustrators. And the wealth of information is staggering, the Times. So basically, if you're confused, you're saying, okay, why is there one every year? Am I going to miss information? So basically, the only things that change, because this was a question I had. A friend of mine, Sophie, is a writer, and she wrote a book on animals that are dangerous to going extinct. So what she was worried about was, I'm using this book, but is anything going to change by the time this comes out next year? And the only thing that changes is updated telephone numbers, updated agencies, if there's a new agency, if there's a new art company. And then the only other thing is the forward from each author. So everything else, that's why they say it's like a Bible. Everything else is absolutely, completely necessary and informative. So the forward is about Joanne Harris, and she talks about when she wrote her first book. It was a 17-page adventure story, and she wrote her first book at 7. So you can imagine, she's gone on obviously from there. If you research her, she's gone on to write very popular novels. So yes, but she kind of goes, the purpose of this book is she tells you from beginning how she got to the end. So it's so useful, guys. I will look at the price now, guys. I think it is over £17, and I know for a book, you're kind of thinking, my God, I've never paid that before. I think it's worth it. I really think it's worth it. The last one I had was, this one's gone a bit This one's the 2016. You can see that's gotten a bit older now. And this was from my friend Sophie. She wrote, "Hi Kira, happy writing. I hope this is helpful. Lots of love, Sophie." So yes, and then that kind of inspired me after that to get this one. And that's how I know, guys, that there isn't, you know, you're not having a disadvantage in terms of knowledge. You're just having you might just need to update in terms of new telephone numbers for publishers, things like that. So new, and also what they do is, I'll just go in, the other things they do is, if I just show you the glossary side, they always publish, guys, the latest. So the latest companies and competitions and people that would encourage you to submit. So you have the glossary there. It's really, really good here. And I think there's, there it goes, and here. So they really do help you with that. So let me just look. So if I just show you something as an example. So it gives you information about poetry in particular. So what do I do? The National Poetry Library is in London. You can then, if you're not a novel writer, if you're not somebody who wants to do fiction, what do I do if I'm just a poetry person? National Association of Writers that cover poets. So I mean, you have the poetry kit, so it gives you all information like that. So Poetry Space, specialist publisher of poetry and short stories, as well as news and edits by Susan Jane Sims. So it gives you so much. Email her at susan@poetryspace.co.uk, and her company was founded in 2010. So I mean, you can really get this wealth of knowledge, guys. So that's how I started. Then it goes into theatre companies. If you want to get experience in theatre, if you want to speak to them, for example, there's the Real People Theatre Company in London. So it gives you lots and lots of information. There's courses and retreats, so Home of Creative Writing, courses and retreats, so things like that. So the only thing that will be updated in this is the 2020. So this is 2019. The only other thing that would be updated would be the 2020 information in terms of dates and things like that and times. So that would be something I would highly recommend, guys. It gives you societies, festival times, what they do and how to contact them. So I would really I would just say it is a Bible. It's an absolute Bible. So that's in terms of writing what I've been doing. I'm really trying to get the current kind of ideas I have out there, particularly the story for the little boy Tommy for the Autism Awareness book came to me in 2 days. I was finished it in 2 days, which has never happened because I researched Notion of Secrets. It was obviously a very different genre, a very genre that I wanted to publish, but have the reality and the facts. I think there's a lot of facts in that type of book. If someone's reading it and they've been affected, it has to be reality. They have to be able to relate to it. So yes, I'm a fictional writer, but the only thing I fictionalized was the characters, the places, the things, but the actual facts and the realities and laws and things like that, I went and I researched myself. So yes, if you're interested in writing, if you're interested in anything like that, you don't really know where to start, you want to get all this information in one book, the Writers and Artists Yearbook 2020 is already out, and I will link that below. It's also on Amazon where my book is. So yes, I in particular love autobiographies lately. So I have read Noel Fitzpatrick, and this is obviously Melanie Brown, Brutally Honest. So yes, I would highly recommend that, guys. I will be doing videos more like this. If you want me to do writing videos and because I have a writer's space every week that I focus on for myself, and I give myself targets. So I will put this video out today, and let me know in the comments if you would like a weekly or monthly update, and then I'll give you advice that I've found that is working for me. I'll give you illustrators advice, people that I know, if you're particularly in Oxford or London or the UK itself, things that I'm learning along the way. If you would like this to be a series, do let me know, and it will absolutely go up as a series. So yes, this is in terms of writing where I've been. The next video is just how I've been in particular in the last 3 months and what's been happening. And I will thank you for this and looking at it, and I will see you in the next video.